really excited about this call, but I didn't do a great job promoting it, and it maybe isn't the most sexy title. Like, let's talk small group training. Everyone's like, that doesn't sound fun at all. Sounds like more
I
work.
think it's a good thing. I think maybe just post holiday,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
people don't understand the revenue they can make off of it.
That's what
Maybe.
I'm getting really excited about. So, but I hate to treat it like, oh, just, snap your fingers and then you've got it. You've got your small group and you've got your money. There's definitely going to be some work behind it, but it feels like the right kind of work, because a lot of gyms that I've talked to are doing really well with it. So, and there's cool different ways to slice it. Does anyone here already do some form of semi-private or even just one-on-one training outside of group
Yeah.
class training? A
Yes.
little bit for Zia. Not yet, Nikki. No, Nick. Okay. All good. I'm going to give people 1 minute till 11:05, and then we will roll.
Yeah, I was literally on a boat when I had my first Zoom call with Jay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
You're, so you had a couple calls with him then.
I had three. Yeah.
Okay, good. Nice. Awesome. Good. Had to happen.
Yeah.
You must have had good weather in Key West.
Yeah, I did. I am sitting in Southern California right now and freezing.
I know it's so cold, but no one wants to believe that California is cold, but it's for
Yeah,
us, it's cold.
it
It's
is. Southern California is cold. Biggest kept secret in the United States, guys. Freezing. It was
but
in
it's
the
only cold for
40s
like
today.
2 months a year.
Yeah.
Then February it starts getting nice again.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, guys, so we can get started, and if anyone else hops on, they'll know where we left off, or they can watch the recording. So, thanks for joining us for this call about how to implement some small group training options into your different membership. You know what you guys offer, membership offerings, I guess we could call it. I've talked to Zia a little bit prior to the call, as this is something that she already does. So I'm definitely going to lean on her to weigh in, and you guys could, of course, ask questions directly to her. I also just had a call with an owner of an affiliate up in Oregon, and he's been implementing this now for 2 years. And I took a bunch of notes, so I'm going to he can't make the call, so I'm going to speak on his behalf as he asked me to, and share some of his success. Also, I'm sure Zia would offer this as well, but he offered up his email, so if anyone had follow-up questions, and I'll throw that up at the end so anyone can get a hold of him. And yeah, so let me just get a kind of a baseline of where everyone's from, since it's such a small group that we have here. I think I already mentioned Z and I are both California. I'm Northern California. I own a small garage affiliate in Pleasanton. Zia down in Encinitas, sort of northern San Diego. And what about you, Nick? Where are you at?
I am in Sacramento, soon to be in Yuba City.
Nice. Okay, relocating to Yuba City. What's the name of your affiliate?
Classified Fitness.
Awesome. Okay, very cool. And Harry, what about you?
CrossFit New York City.
New York City. Oh, awesome. I pulled up your website, and I was, did you see our post, or did someone tell you to hop on the call?
Someone told me to hop on the call.
Okay. Because I was sent your recent post about semi-private training. I think it was a recent post.
Yes.
Yeah. But you guys have also been implementing this for a while, or is this a new thing?
We're just starting to formalize it.
Okay. Very cool. But you have also, you've been around quite some time, CrossFit NYC, right? 2 locations?
We might be literally the oldest in the world now.
Really?
Just happened. Yeah. 2005. When they had the list, we were number 4, but the 3 above us don't seem to have active websites.
What about Rainier up in Washington, Curtis Bowler?
If you go to their website, they don't look active.
Oh, so yeah, they're technically his garage affiliate. So you are
No,
the
but he
last.
doesn't have. Is a garage affiliate a new thing now? If I go to when I went to their website, I didn't see anything. I hope they're fine. I don't care if I'm number 3 or 8.
Technically, a website is not required, but they're more of like neighbors and friends. So I would call you like maybe the original or the last of the originals. That's like an official commercial, situation. But yeah, that's
awesome.
Amazing. So, and you've got 2 locations, slightly different parts of New York. So I'm excited to hear from you, and maybe even kind of hear how it's going, because that just started. And then Nikki.
A Walla Walla, Washington. Destination.
And no Destination CrossFit, and no small group yet?
No, we've done just group classes and it's like some one-off like nutrition stuff, but nothing else.
Okay, very cool. And then we had a couple of people just come on. I see Jessica, and is it Devin?
Yeah.
We're just saying hi really quick because it's a fairly small group. And if you just, Devin, if you want to go first and just let us know what your gym name is and where you're located.
Okay, yeah, I'm in Kalispell, Montana, Middle Path CrossFit. We're a brand new affiliate.
Awesome.
I haven't even opened my doors yet.
Oh, exciting.
And hoping to within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And we're actually hoping to roll out with small group classes.
Nice.
Because of the situation with our building. So this was perfect timing for what I'm hoping to do in a few weeks.
Oh, awesome. I love it. Well,
Yeah.
Congratulations on starting this
Thank
off.
you.
And I think that's kind of cool, as some people might be a little envious that you get to roll out fresh with this as part of your offerings versus trying to implement it and shift the culture or how people think about it. And then Jessica, I don't know if you're able to come off mute. If you are, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I'm Jessica, and we have CrossFit Pine Creek in Pittsburgh, PA.
Awesome. And then do you guys do small group yet?
We do not, no. So, I mean, we've tested it out a little bit like in the very beginning, but then our class sizes started to get pretty big. We haven't gone back to that, but we did have plans to maybe try it again in January. So this was good timing.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to dive into it. What I said before a couple of you guys hopped on was that Zia up at down at CrossFit Counterculture in Encinitas has experience implementing this at her affiliate. So I'm going to kind of shoot some stuff her way for her to speak on behalf of that. I also had interviewed an affiliate owner up in Portland, Oregon, and his name is Dan at CrossFit Woods Lawn. And I'm just going to drop Zia already put her email in the chat. I'm just going to put Dan's info. He's not on the call. He was unable to, but having a lot of success with small group training. And he said, please pass along my info to anyone that would like to contact me, woodslawnllc@gmail.com. And I'm just going to put that out there. Of course, if anyone isn't able to write that down, you guys can reach out to me later. I'll follow up with a little email here. But basically, when we're talking about implementing this, it can be lots of different ways. There's private training, which would be considered one-on-one. And then anything after that could be like semi-private, anywhere from couples or groups of 3, all the way up to Dan does groups of 6. And anytime you're basically having that smaller group, what you're going to do is charge more for that intimate setting and for the ability to really curate the program to each individual. So at my affiliate, it's a garage affiliate. My classes are small group by design, because I can't fit more than, I say 5, but I'll squeak in a 6 person here or there, depending on the workout and if I have the bandwidth. But pretty much that small group model allows me in a very small 2-car garage with no rig and no, large outdoor training space to operate at a competitive price point relative to what I provide. And because what people are paying for is my coaching and my interaction and my ability to tailor it to them. So I'll chime in a little bit with my stuff here and there, but I realize that operating out of my garage is a very different system than having a staff of trainers and all of the overhead of a commercial facility. But prior to having my affiliate, when I was a trainer at an affiliate, I also started taking on semi-private training clients because it really helped me as a trainer. So speaking from that perspective, I did group classes and some one-on-ones. I was also trying to be a parent, and I was also trying to train competitively for CrossFit. So it really left my hours of the day limited. And so when I had several people come up after class and say, I'd like to work on this, I'd like to work on that, I was like, can we just pick a time and all 3 of you do it? Then the rate per person was much cheaper for them than it would be if they were doing one-on-one with me. And I actually ended up making more money because the rate was still more than I would get from a singular personal or a group class, of course. So it was a win-win. And they also had that energy, because if anyone's done one-on-one training, it can be exhausting. So that shared group energy. So I really think there's a lot of benefit. And if that's not something you've sort of sat down and drawn out for yourself of what are the benefits for the trainer, what are the benefits for the athlete, make sure you have that outlined, because those are going to be some of your biggest selling points for getting, of course, your staff on board. If it's a shift for them to take on that responsibility, and also for selling, I mean, for really explaining to your athletes, to your members, why there's value here. I'll kind of kick it over to Zia if there's anything she wants to talk about initially, and just kind of like how you thought about it overall, and then we can start to get into some of the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I really got into it at first from just the facility capacity standpoint, like getting too many members, and I can't have all these little one-on-ones going on everywhere. We just didn't have the space for it. So to kind of like bundle people together a little bit that are in the same, you know, desired training path was great for not only them, because it does make it a little bit more fun, good for the coach because the coach is making more money, but also just, you know, more bang for your buck. So I have two like kind of ways I go about it. We have the small group, which I do cap at 6, and that's a pretty good sized small group. And we're in Southern California, so it's a little expensive, but we charge $400 an hour for that. And opposed to $75 to $100 an hour for if they were all by themselves. So it still is a much better deal for them. And then we just require them to have a commitment that's at least 2 per week for that. We also, as we started getting fuller, have offered, I still consider them small groups, but off-peak hour memberships. So, you know, a 1 o'clock class or a 2 o'clock class or an 11 o'clock class will have an off-peak membership, which is a little bit cheaper than our traditional membership. And then we have Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. They can come in to it, but they can only come to those classes that are considered off-peak, and their membership is only $150 a month versus our traditional $225. So that's kind of the 2 styles that we have for our group classes.
Nice. So when I was talking with Dan, he kind of a similar sentiment. He kind of echoed that it didn't make sense for the one-on-one model with now they have a little bit of a different layout. He said they kind of have 3 different spaces for training. So they can have a group class happening as well as
I have that too, but it's still too much.
It still starts to be too much. Exactly.
Yeah. And staffing is a huge issue.
That's the other thing. If you have a high demand of people that want to essentially pay for more attention and more training, but you don't have the staff to cover it, that's going to be trouble. I also have heard a lot of affiliate owners that don't have a favorable split. They really feel for, maybe they were previously a trainer in another life, and so they really feel for the trainer and want to make sure in a one-on-one that the trainer gets the bulk share. And so ultimately they're getting, you know, pennies on the dollar for this hour that they lose a trainer that they can't put on the schedule, and that needs to accommodate some space and equipment in the gym. And it's really, you know, they hate to turn away clients that want to get better and work on things and income for the employee, but it really just doesn't end up making sense. So he sort of built it out of the same idea. They have a 6-on-1 model as sort of the top end, and then they have some 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 semi-private trainings. They do these in 8 for the 6-person group. They do them in an 8-week interval. The cool thing, what he said, is that they have them coming 2 times a week, and they commit to 8 weeks, meaning that's their payment cycle. The thing that he said is they've been doing this program for 2 years, and they've had almost no turnover in membership in those groups. I think he has 3 groups of 6 that has started 2 years ago, and almost no one has left. And they've continually re-upped every 8 weeks, coming in twice a week. Most of it, they said, is strength training based in some capacity, maybe not literally bulking, but they're wanting to get stronger or target certain weak areas for themselves. They also don't do a traditional class format, warm up, you know, maybe some sort of skill or lift, maybe a conditioning piece. They really focus on get them strength training and sort of an EMOM that either plays off of that or whatever. So it looks very different than their daily class model. Most of the clientele, I thought this was interesting, I don't know about you, Zia, are pre-existing members. So they didn't have to look outside of their client base to find interest in this. I'm also curious, Harry, if you've had any interest since you posted about it, or if it's too soon, if you're getting interest from current members, or if it's more so you're reaching outside of people that are not currently members.
It's a little bit of both. We we started in the real heyday when we were running. There was a period where we were running at one location, 90 classes a week. And so we didn't do anything else. And we let our full-time coaches as a perk, give the gym $10 and you can train someone. And that worked until it doesn't work anymore. We just can't fill classes and pay the rent. So we started doing this, and two things made me realize. I mean, I also started working with Two Brain, and I give them credit for pushing me a little bit over the edge to get this done. But we do private fundamentals, and when people start in their first month, they get 2 privates, and then they get a month of classes. And there was a certain percentage that took 1, 2, 3 classes and didn't continue. There was another percentage that would opt to do a few more private training sessions. And what I'm realizing is that there's a certain percentage of our people that come in and do our on-ramp with private training that would prefer to just continue, semi-private training, to say, like, the first one of these semi-privates we put up is, CrossFit sort of post on-ramp, if you're in your first 6 months or whatever. So that people who do their private training for on-ramp in the evening, Monday and Wednesday, get told by the instructor, I also do semi-private. It's only 4 people. You'd fit in, or the 2 of you would fit in. So I'm relatively optimistic that it will grow. I haven't implemented you commit for 8 weeks or something like that, because with a large clientele, I don't think that has been doing it this way. I don't think they're going to jump in and switch completely. I don't want them to drop their membership. So we made a 5-pack. So I'm pretty much exactly Zia's rate, that it's $400, but we or $60 a person. We said it's $295 for 5 semi-private classes, and you use them where you will. So some people may go right and do that, post on ramp. Some people might be like, yeah, Jim's going to run how to row a 2K, or there's a high rocks competition coming up. So I'm letting the coaches decide what they want, and then they get once, like, back to everything old is new again, get paid by the number of people in the class. So for each person in the class, they get a cut of that $60, so that it can be significant. It's just in its development stage, because it's such a big organization, so many people, so many things. It takes time to ramp it up and get it in Zen and get it all on the thing. But I also put it on the class schedule so people could see, there's a 5:15, 6:30. Oh, there's a 6:30 semi-private with Jim, so that people, every time they register, they see that. Maybe they come at 4 o'clock. But what is this semi-private? Or, oh, I have Jim for my 4 o'clock WOD. So I'm hopeful that I hear good things like you're hearing, that it will be a win-win for the coaches and for the members. And it's a practical way to not spend as much on private training.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what was, and this is kind of part of the discussion of things many of you might already realize, but something that Dan and I were talking about before this call is that a lot of affiliate owners make the mistake of assuming they know what people want without asking. They want the group class model because that's what CrossFit is. So that's what I provide. And I'm going to look at the neighbor down the street and see what they charge. And I'm going to come in up or below, either above or below that, just a little. And whatever, versus really asking. And I know that Two Brain is really big on a no sweat intro. I know, Zia, you do like a no sweat tour or intro as well. Yeah. And call it what you want, but it's really about, like, if you want to end up getting clients that, let's call it what it is, are willing to pay high dollar for the product you're putting out, you need to connect with them early on and really figure out what it is. The analogy that Dan gave was, we were chatting, is he's like, even if Katie, went to his gym, a 15-year CrossFit veteran, an employee of CrossFit, someone that works on the seminar staff, you would think, oh, she knows what CrossFit is. let's put her in the group class. That's what she wants. But he's like, I would even give you that no sweat intro because not because you need CrossFit explained to you, but I need to know who you are and what you want. You come to my gym as a new, not a drop-in, a new resident, and you want to do CrossFit here, let's get to know each other and come to find out, oh, Katie's been training alone in her garage for 5 years and she's lonely. And while she wants groups, she feels lost in the group, or no one wants to give her coaching because she is more experienced. So she wants feedback and she wants that in the semi-private realm. Perfect, right? Like, but you wouldn't have known that if you didn't ask. And so the big, again, if you don't call it as no sweat intro, do something that connects with your future clientele and also your members. So I was curious, Zia, if you do this or if anyone does this. What Dan said he does is he is a mandatory 90-day goal review for every member of the gym. So you could be in the, basic unlimited package, leave me alone, I'm on auto renew or whatever. And you still have the 90-day check-in with someone, one of the employees, one of the staff, to talk about how things are going. Are you reaching your goals? What can we do for you? And of course, that's obviously an opportunity to possibly sell something different if they're not getting what they want. But just building in that value of, we're here, we listen to you, we care about your progress and you getting what you want. I haven't heard of a lot of gyms doing that. So I'm curious if anyone does that. I'll start with you, Zia. Do you guys do any kind of recurring check-ins for all members?
I do a 1-month check-in after they join, and then we will do a 3-month check-in. And not like no formal goals or anything have been set, but just checking in, like, how are things going? How are you enjoying the 4:30 class? Is there anything that you need? But we don't really outline goals. So I do kind of like, but we do check in with them after 1 month, especially if they were in elements, like a new person that's never crossed it before. And then again at 3 months. And I do find that a lot of our small group attendees tend to be people that have never CrossFit before or have very specific goals. One of the two. They're not like the average CrossFitter. So coming out of elements, a really easy upsell is those small group classes. And sometimes they outgrow them and then they go to group class or switch over. But it isn't, I rarely get people they're like, oh, I saw on your website you offer small groups. They kind of like find their way there from the membership base.
Okay.
Or elements.
I think a lot of people, my gym is mostly clients through word of mouth because I haven't done any kind of formal advertising. I used to be on the affiliate map, but that's my home address. So I took that down because that got weird. And so honestly, it's really just people talking about the energy in the gym, the vibe of the gym, and the fact that they get that personalized attention. So I have clients that are coming to a small group setting because they're recovering from an injury and they don't feel safe in a group setting model because they are very specific about certain goals they want. They really want to build up their glutes, or they really want to, trim down this area, like those things that they feel like they can talk openly with their trainer versus each day of the week when I go at 9 a.m., I have one of 3 different trainers. And so I don't really let them know what I'm after. I just kind of quietly do the workout and high five people at the end. So it's not that those coaches aren't doing a good job, but in a group class of 8 to 10 people, they're not really able to check in on every moment of every class. I mean, even with me with 5, it starts to get overwhelming to really treat it as all you have all my attention, because you can't possibly, but it can get pretty close. So that's one thing he said about those check-ins. He's able to find out that loving everything, but really wanted to work on this one body part or one area. He said that's how he got a whole small group of ladies interested in like a glute program or whatever. And so he's like, great, we'll create a small group just centered around that. And there's still members in the everyday classes. So that I thought was interesting as well. It's not necessarily an either or. And I was curious if that was something, I think you might've spoken to that a little bit already, Zia, but I think what he was saying was how many have both. So he said that he'll have someone sign up and get 2 days a week, 2 days a week of semi-private, and then also go into group classes, they call it like a hybrid membership. So depending on which hybrid membership you add on to your semi-private training, you are given X amount of classes in the groups the group classes to go to that week. So a smaller amount, you could go to one group class a week to supplement your semi-private training. A larger package, obviously you could go to 2 or more. And what they do is at the end of the semi-private class, they gather everyone around and say, because they know the programming for the week, don't go to tomorrow's class because we just worked on deadlift and that's what tomorrow's class is. Go to Thursday's class, and they kind of assign them. And I know that you have to be a little flexible because people's schedules aren't wide open, but you can essentially tell them, like, I've written your program specifically for you all. And if you go to these classes, it's going to really help with that. If you go to the other ones, it's going to get a little redundant. So that kind of attention, instead of just like high five, goodbye, you're out, but really looking to what I know what we're doing next week or later this week in our semi-private class. So make sure you attend this class or that class. That will help with that. Let's see. With the semi-private, so the hybrid memberships, he says they'll do anywhere from 8 to 12 classes a month in the different membership packages. And you're only allowed to use that if you're enrolled in another program. So one-on-ones, which he said they do almost none of, semi-private 2 or 3 person, or the upwards of 6 people semi-private, then you're allowed to. And so those hybrid memberships, I think on the lower end are 149, he said, tag on to the semi-private prices. So his semi-privates are about 275 for that, I believe that 8-week program. And then you can add on the 150. So he said what he gets, or you could add on nutrition. And so what he's getting is around $390 a month from a single member times, maybe 5 members in that group. So it's obviously a lot more than most of us are getting out of someone that's just signing up for group classes or the occasional maybe nutrition for 1 month here or there. Let's see. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but on-ramp was something that Dan talked a lot about as being a critical component for sort of demonstrating the value of semi-private. Harry, do you guys do on-ramp of any, like you said, talk about the one-on-ones?
We do, and that's exactly where we think we're going to sell it, say.
Yeah.
Where people are so happy with their 1-hour training sessions, or now we're moving to 4 45-minute training sessions, that's the time to say, like, look, you've got classes and you have access to these classes, but I also teach semi-privates. It's 4 people, so it's going to be much closer to this, or maybe you want to do that once a week. Yeah, my hope is that the coaches will be selling this because they get a good cut of it, and because the on-ramp place is where I suspect we're going to get most of our initial people, because our old members are sort of set in their ways, right? They've self-selected themselves at this point into just doing group classes. It's the newer people that are finding their way around, that either they find a safe, they find a comfortable spot in my gym, or they leave. Well, up until now, they've only had the group class as a spot. Now they have 2 possibilities. And so I'm hoping that that's where I'll get them. But
I think you're smart to have it on the schedule though, because if it's posted on the schedule, some of those veteran members might start to see it and get a little curious. That's smart. Don't hide it.
I hope so. Thanks.
On-ramp is a good way to, that's where a lot of ours comes from, is that on-ramp. They finish that and we can sell them right into that program. And I'm not as generous, I guess. They still pay a membership at the gym for me if they want to attend classes.
Yeah.
Well, if they want to attend, yeah. So even if they do the small group, if they also want to attend classes, then they also have to pay for a.
And that's exactly what Dan does, but I might have phrased it bad, but they definitely do. They just do a rolling rate based on how many days you want to actually go to group class. So if you're going to do semi-private twice a week and you only want to get in a 3rd day, then your membership won't be that of like an unlimited. It would be a reduced group class rate on top of your semi-private. And if you're like, no, I want to come in to 3 classes and 2 semi-privates, then you're going to pay a higher hybrid rate versus someone that's paying for just 1 group class a week. So he didn't give me all the prices, but I'm sure he would outline that for anyone that asks him. We were trying to get on the call really quick. And he does 6 one-on-one sessions for the on-ramp. Zia, what do you guys do?
I do 3 one-on-ones for the on-ramp.
I know
Yeah.
Diablo up in Northern California does 6 as well. Harry, what do you guys do for on-ramp?
Or 45 minutes.
Or 45 minutes. Yeah, so he does 45 minutes of training, and then in the last 15 minutes, they talk about recovery, what you're going to feel, you know, after this session, and let's book your next on-ramp. Let's look at the classes. Since for their on-ramp, I don't know if this is common. He's got the 6 one-on-one sessions, and I often look at that as like you have to complete your 6 before you've graduated and you can go into group classes. What they do at Wood Salon is, as soon as you've taken that first one, you're eligible to, because you also are, when you buy your 6 on-ramp, you're buying also additionally your monthly membership for that month. So it's a pretty big package initially. I think it's $500 for 6 sessions and the first month of training. And so you take your first session, which he said is like air squat, shoulder press, and like assault bike, kind of a little mini workout, and teaching in depth the air squat and the press. And then you schedule your second session, and you also book your first group class. So they look at the schedule, they place you in a class that's going to have only movements you've learned, you know, or some simple stuff like running or step up or something that can be taught right on the fly, but you're not going to get put into a class that has the snatch if you've not learned that yet. So the coaches look ahead in the calendar and they sign you up for your first group class that will be something you're able to do and have learned. Do you, Zia, have them buy the on-ramp plus the membership, or do they have to complete the on-ramp first?
So selfishly, really, I mean, I've gone back and forth over the past 15 years. So probably the thing I've changed the most about my business is the on-ramp. And Craig and I now do it exactly the same, which is really funny because we didn't plan it.
Yeah.
He does 4, but I only do 3. And I honestly went down to 3 because of staffing. Again, selfishly was like, you know what? Like, staff's an issue with this. We're doing 3. We do 3 hours. You know, it starts each one with something. Like the first one is like really sitting them down. What is CrossFit? Going over that with them, giving them a tour of the facility, and then, you know, going over everything squatting, right? And then the second one, we teach them Wodify, make sure they have the app, kind of go through that. And then we do everything pushing, and then pushing, and then some pulling. And then the last one, we go over nutrition, and then Olympic lifting. And then the fourth one, we sign them up for a class, and then that coach who did elements with them will also be there for their first class and make sure that they're okay and kind of walk them through that. So kind of 4.
Yeah.
And then we actually do not charge for elements. So our membership's $225, regardless of what membership they choose. We have 2. They pay $225 for the first month, and that is included in their membership. That is my investment in them to try something they've never done before. And then from there, they have a month membership left over for however long. We try to get them in as quickly as we can, and that's how we do it.
You kind of try to hit them boom, boom, boom within a week or 2, get through their 3 to 4 on ramps, and get them into group class after. Awesome.
Yeah, and then that automatically starts their reoccurring. What?
Oh, sorry. For the on-ramp, what do you pay your trainer?
I pay my trainers $40 an hour to incentivize them to want to do it.
Yeah.
So I really am.
And does 42. So similar for that. Yep.
Yeah. So $40, which is I charge, and then I pay my coaches $25 an hour. If they're an L3, they get 30. And so it really incentivizes them to want to pick up those elements classes. It doesn't work. I still am constantly begging people to want to do the elements classes, but I feel like, you know, especially with just it being so expensive already, we're $225 a month. So it's a lot. And so I don't charge them for the elements. And like I said, I've gone back and forth about this so many times, but by the end of it, I can usually upsell them a bag of protein, probably a t-shirt, and often, you know, also the small groups or maybe a nutrition counseling. So I can upsell pretty quickly from that and recoup that cost back pretty easy because we still don't lose money. We're just not making a ton on their first month.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about, I don't know if there's any interest in this, but I'm thinking about, I've been asked already to do a call specifically about on-ramp and just digging into all the different ways to do it, because there's not a one size fits all. Different gyms are going to have success in different models. I think there has shown certain ones to be more effective than others. But I mean, like I know the first gym I was ever at, it was just a giant group class called beginners class. And I don't know what the retention was out of that. I don't think the owner actually tracked that kind of thing because it was the Wild West. It was, 2007, 8. But it was just a giant group of people that were brand new. I remember at one point I started my own beginners class on the weekend at that gym, and we had upwards of 40 to 60 people. We had 2 to 3 coaches coaching it, but it was insanity. But we had kept the movements very basic, and it was just kind of like, it wasn't CrossFit light. We eventually would get to things like Olympic lifting, and there were barbells, but it was pretty chaotic because most of them, it was anywhere from someone coming their first day ever to someone that's been doing CrossFit for 6 months, had exposure to all elements, but was too scared to go to a regular class. And so I really think, a lot of models can work, but I'm curious what people do. And, sounds like a lot of you guys are doing similar things. So.
I've tried to do the group ones. I know CJ, I'm good friends with him at Invictus. He will do like small group and like classes, like, okay, you have to get through these 6 before you do class. But I always found that somebody was like, oh, I can't make that day, or oh, I missed it. Can I make it up? And it's just like, I can't.
And
like, I don't know how he manages
in
that.
that model, they're like a series, right? Like you have to take the A,
Yeah.
B, C, D, and E, and you're like, I skipped C, I went to D, I have to find another time for C to fit my schedule. And it's just, yeah, it could be.
And I was never comfortable with like, oh, you missed the starting point, so you're going to start in 3 weeks. Like, to me, that's insanity. Like, they're going to just find another gym that they can start right away.
True. Yeah. We want this to be not turning them away. So in terms of benefits, things that we like are happy about, I don't know if you guys want to share anything. I know, Harry, you're kind of just getting started, but what Dan said is that his average revenue per member is between 300 and 475 a month for his semi-private clients. So that's very exciting, I'm sure, for those of you that are looking to possibly add this. And I know that's way high, and that's someone who's their unlimited gym membership is $199 a month, just for reference. Because I know everyone's all over the map in terms of cost of living and what they plan on charging for membership. But his group class membership is $199, and so clear, much higher revenue per member for those semi-private clients. And like I said, the retention is there. I don't know if you felt that as way, Zia. If people that join
their retention way higher. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's exciting for the from the employee standpoint, from your staff. As someone that has been a career trainer, you work hard to keep that money coming in. You work hard for yourself, right? For your own revenue, but it also ends up benefiting the gym. We talked a little bit about, his employees, what they get in terms of health insurance, 401k, continuing education, and the rates and the split. He's from the 2 Brain camp, so he does a 4/9 split for trainers, which a lot of owners, I think, initially feels really painful to only give 4/9. I know it feels like you're not giving enough to your trainer, but I think that's where charging higher prices is going to make sure that the trainers are getting a living wage off of this. What else? Any questions? How about that? Things you guys came in hoping to ask about, and maybe Zia can tackle, or if I have the answer from Dan. Anyone curious of how to start? Like if you're, I know, Devin, you talked about you're literally starting, but to how to shift this, how to start this. I was sent an Instagram post that Harry did for his gym. Do you guys do any other promotion other than that? Did you send out an email or anything, Harry, or talk about it in the start of classes?
The coaches themselves are talking about it in the start of classes because they themselves are designing it. So somebody says, what do you want to work on? Who has an interest in this? And so they're getting ideas for what they want to run. I wanted them to be the ones to create it. Smart. I don't schedule them. So Jim goes, look, I got people that want to do a rowing with me. Okay, this is the rule. We'll put it on the schedule, make it work, take it off when it doesn't work.
Perfect.
We do a gymnastics class every Sunday. and it's not really, and it's kind of small group. It can get kind of big, but we have a gymnastics coach that they can come in and work on, and it's once a month. And they just pay, I think it's $35. They can drop in and take that and basically walk in and say, I want to work on this today. And the coach is just there to walk around and help anybody that just wants a little bit of help.
It's almost like
on
an
their-
open gym gymnastics versus
Yeah. And it's
scheduled.
exactly. And it's every Sunday. And it's not really small group-ish, but kind of what we're talking about. It's just an opportunity for them to drop in. And then the coach gets, I'm not a 2-brain gym, but that split is almost exactly what I do. So
Yeah.
the more people that attend his class, the more money he gets. And we have a deep end fitness class at the pool that's the exact same, is that it's $35 and they can drop in. So we have a couple of opportunities to get that price per member up each month, that between the small groups and the like a la carte classes that are small.
And speaking as a trainer who, made my living off, I lived alone in LA with the high cost of living there, just as a trainer. And I was having to pay my own health insurance and rent and all that other stuff, right? But honestly, like, you hustle so hard to get your clients and keep your clients and get your small groups. And that 4 nights model works amazing in terms of motivating a trainer to do an excellent job to get more people to sign up. If you just give them, they get 75 out of the $100 in the hour to train a one-on-one client, like they will take that just today, and they could care less if that person comes back, because they'll just get another one or another one, and they have no reason to try to turn that into a small group or whatever. But for me, that made a lot of sense, to be able to be like, if I can be the best, more people come to my class. That was Coach Glassman's original model, right? Like, the trainers could write their own workout, and the more people that came to the class, they were getting paid per head. So if you were programming effective workouts and teaching and coaching really well, people would come to your class, your attendance at classes would go up, your money would go up. I wish that was the case when I was doing group classes, because I grew like a 4-person class into a 40-person class, but I still got my $20 an hour, right? But if you're showing your employees that can be their path, maybe not in a group class model, but in semi-private, I think that's hugely motivating for them on their, and even in their own continuing education. They're going to want to get better. They're going to want to learn more coaching tricks and come up with better programs and ways to get people to see results, because then they'll come back.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's see. What else? What are we missing? Do anyone have any questions? Not really. Pretty
What about like short-term small group classes? Like, instead of having it be a regular thing, running like a 1 month, once or twice a week thing, is that something people have played around with? Or
So mine is only 1 month commitment, and it's twice a week. So, and like I said, like, it's, 30 days, and then you have to give me a 30-day notice. But I mean, rarely, people love them, so it's not really an issue. And if a group does drop down, it doesn't take long to get that spot filled. People want to be in those classes.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you run them at the same time as your group class?
I have more than one room, so
Right.
I can do that. Like, I have a main room, and then I have like a personal training room, which can get busy if there's like a ton of personal trainers in there. But because you do the small groups, and it's better. So I do run them at the same time, because I have a different room.
Do you put them on the schedule, or are they more like it's only for those off the schedule?
They are on our Wodify, like on our app. You can see them on our schedule.
So someone that's not signed up for it could see it. Obviously, they couldn't access it without paying for it, but very
correct. Cool. Yeah. And then for the off-peak memberships, which I love, because Daniel Chaffee actually turned me on to that, because he has 1,400 members in a 5,000 square foot facility. And here I am, like, I have a 6,000 square foot facility, and I'm like 300, and I'm like I can't fit any more people. And he
fit.
came to my gym and was like, dude, this is what you got to do. But one of the things he told me was sell off-peak memberships for cheaper, and people can only go to that one. That way it's not taxing, you're getting more members in the door, but they're not taxing your already 20 to 30 people classes.
Right.
And then they'll grow that, and then that way you're getting more hours out of your day before thinking about moving your facility. So
Because everyone's like, what do I do with that noon class that only gets 3 people in it?
well, our
Right.
noon class gets like 25, but
or the random, I don't know, the 4 p.m. or the
I
11
have a
different at
1
every gym.
o'clock. Yeah,
Yeah.
so now I have off peak. We have a 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Like now we can literally have something going on every hour of the day. And they're just, if they want to go to other classes, then they're gonna have to start paying more. But it's a good way to try to fill up those classes that are, or those hours where nothing's going on.
That's also a cool selling point for anyone that's feeling like they don't want to stop, but they suddenly things happen in life and they can't afford their previous membership. And you're like, well, could you come at, I don't know what would be off peak at every gym, but like, could you come at 5 a.m.? Could you come at, yeah, exactly. And they can, and that's able to take $30 off their membership and still stay a member, and you free up a spot for someone that can pay that rate.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really great idea. From Daniel, from Zia. Now you got to claim it as your own. It was Zia's idea.
It was my idea.
Of course, we did that for the last 10 years.
Nice.
And I just stopped. Because what I eventually came to the conclusion was the people who signed up for off-peak memberships because they come at 9:45 and 12:15 and 1:30 and 3:45, one of those classes got dead and I wanted to cancel it. And the outrage was, I can only come at 1:30. And eventually I realized that what I had for my midday people were people who only wanted to come at midday. And I didn't really need to charge them any less than the people who only want to come at 6 a.m. And in the beginning, it really seemed like a great idea because it'll unload all these 6 a.m. people who come at 9:45. No, 6 a.m. people will only come at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
It helped when someone said, do you have a student plan? Well, our midday membership's our student plan. Don't tell me you're a student and you can only come at 6:30 at night or 6 o'clock in the morning. But as time went on, I found out that the classes, it's post-COVID in New York, didn't get as big as I wanted, and those people want to come at that time. So I've actually discontinuing it after 10 years. It may be that in other areas that people are more flexible, but I'm finding in New York, people aren't flexible. You might move a class 5 minutes and there's a riot. And so I'm not finding in the long run that people were like, oh, I would rather come at 6 a.m., but I come at 9 a.m. to save the money. I just,
no, I think you're right. I think a lot, especially like if you're in more of an urban area, I think you're probably right. People are likely going to be somewhere working in the city and their schedule is going to be set. But I do think some people have more flexibility in other areas, and I wouldn't have even thought of that. So
my attendants are college kids, people in between jobs, moms, single moms, like those are the people that are coming and they're making it work. Because so I'm finding Encinitas is a ridiculous place to live financial wise. So if you are fresh out of college, you are not able to necessarily pay to live in Encinitas and eat. So those are the kind of people that I get at my off peak, and they're very small classes. If a class ever grew to the point I think where it was bigger, then I would be like, well, this is not an off peak class. So I think it is very regional. And I do think that like somewhere like New York you're just selling a discounted membership.
The other thing we would get is people are off peak. Oh, today I have to go in the office. Can I just come to the 6 o'clock today?
Yeah.
And it just became difficult. It worked for a while, and now with the way New York has changed, it doesn't.
That's a smart reassessment. And I think that should be the case with all of these things. You're going to have to at some point pick a starting point. If you're going to get semi-private training off the ground, you have to start somewhere. how many, on ramp, you're going to have to pick a number of sessions. Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? Like, you just got to start. And then it sounds like, what Zia is doing, Harry's doing, you have to be reassessing, and you're reassessing a lot of different factors, right? From member retention and how much they're able to pay versus how much your staff are able to handle the workload, things like that. So I think just picking a starting point. I know initially I was asking kind of like how to spread the word on this. If you're just getting started, it's built into your plan. It's just how things are done. I talked to another affiliate owner, I'm blanking on who it was, where every single membership at the gym involved some kind of outside of group class training, whether it was one-on-one or semi-private. It was built into every single membership. Some memberships, it was built in higher quantities. The bare minimum was a group class membership and a singular monthly training, whether it was semi-private or one-on-one. And so no one could escape it. And that was their chance to check in with the people and make sure they're getting the value, versus just going to any old gym. Here's how you get all the questions from someone. Why do I have to pay so much to go to a CrossFit gym? Because we're going to provide you more value. Well, you have to back that up. So really, like I said, write down what you're providing, write down what what you're offering to your clients, so you know exactly what that is, and you can back it up, and make sure your staff are confident with that as well. If you're already pre-existing, you're trying to get this off the ground, I think putting out a weekly newsletter, you could throw it in something like that. If you don't do a weekly newsletter, then it might just go to spam. It might get lost if you're not already having that ongoing, weekly or even monthly conversations. It's good for the staff, they're going to want to talk about it already. So have them promoting it in the announcements part of, the whiteboard brief, or at the end of class. Beginning is usually good when people are paying attention. At the end, they're all glazed over and trying to walk out the door. Zia, I don't know if you do any other ways of promoting it besides just word of mouth.
I promote it from within the membership. Is how, when I was starting it, I promoted it from within them, and almost filled them up just from existing members. And again, that on ramp is my number one. I'll rarely post about it outside of those two things, but on ramp, we talk about it. So we do this, whether you've CrossFit or not, you come in, we sit down. What are your goals? Why are you joining the gym? We talk about it during that as well. So, but as far as like any marketing outside of that, I do virtually almost none of that anyway, but
same with Dan up at Woodlawn. He said they have not done any kind of paid marketing, and I think he said in 5 years or something. So, and they started this program two years ago. So they've never promoted it, and it's doing really well for them. So hopefully you guys are inspired to kickstart it. If you end up thinking of more questions later, hopefully you saw Zia's email in the chat, zia@crossfitcounterculture.com if you got in late after the fact. And then I also posted who I was kind of speaking on behalf of, which was Dan at CrossFit Woodlawn LLC@gmail.com. They both offered to answer any questions or give you guys some pep talks if you need it. You can also always email me, katie.hogan@crossfit.com. And I'm going to post this recording to the CrossFit West Coast affiliates YouTube. And I'll have a link for that in my Instagram as well. And I could actually send you guys the link too, but you all we're on the call, so you don't really need it. But yeah, if there's no other questions, I'll let you guys go. Thank you all. Thank you, Zia and Harry, for contributing
Thank you.
your info and experience.
Thank you.